Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Revelia from ProPhysique.com. Welcome to the channel, and I have a special guest today. This is my man, Dr. Bret Contreras now, right?
Yes.
Congratulations, PhD in exercise science, but with a very specific focus. So the cool thing is we just got done with the LA Fit Expo, and Lauren and I took a train down here to San Diego, where Bret is opening a brand new gym, specifically focused on glutes. So what I thought would be fun to do is talk about some of the most common mistakes people make when they're trying to grow their glutes, because I'm interested in glutes. A lot of my clients are trying to build nice butts. I know you love butts. So before we get too deep into that, let's just talk about where your kind of interest in glute building came from.
So there's two reasons why I became kind of obsessed with glutes. The first was when I was like, I think I was around 16 years old. There were like 3 girls that I had a crush on in high school, and right, everything.
I like when this guy flies.
Well, I heard him talking about actually my friends who were on the football team, and they're like, "We got to go watch football practice. I love staring at the guys in their football uniforms. I love watching their butts." And I'm like, girls care about butts. I'm gonna be a virgin for life. Like, I'm screwed. I had none. Like,
really?
I had none.
Which
goes into the next story. I was playing golf with my sister's boyfriend at the time when I was like around that age, 16ish. And I'm bending over to swing on like the 9th hole, and my sister's boyfriend's like, "You know, Bret, it's crazy. You actually have no glutes. It's like your back goes right into your legs. You know, most people have like a prominence, like a protuberance that bulges outwards, and your back just goes right into your legs. It's like you're missing those muscles." And I'm like, wow, way to, like just attack my biggest insecurity.
It's funny how those things stick with us.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm not okay with this. I am not okay with this. I have to do something about this. So that's when I just started reading everything I could. But back then, bodybuilders didn't have a glute day. They had leg day.
80s, early 80s, mid 80s?
90s, early 90s.
Yeah.
The bodybuilding mags didn't
Quads,
have,
hamstrings.
It was leg day,
yeah, there's
quads and hams, and then your glutes just got big, by doing legs and back and stuff. But there were no... There were no like women's fitness magazines that I remember.
And even back then, women's fitness was still very early on. They really didn't value lots of muscle, right? It was more about the overall look.
Really, the glutes have become more popular. I think I'm partially responsible for. Before I came around, glute training was very different. Like just
I would agree.
10 years ago,
yes.
It's totally different now.
Well, so as a coach who's like known about you for a few years, I quite often get inquiries from women, and they're like, "Yeah, I've done the Bret Contreras glute program," or "I'm interested in doing, I saw Bret do a video on hip thrusts. Can we add that to my program?" So I had to like go, okay, where am I getting this from? And go like do some research and see.
Who is this son of a...
No, I always approach things from a different perspective. I'm like, if they're interested in it, there's a reason. So, and I noticed a trend, like it was a common theme. So I'm like, we got to start it, if I don't...
Good for you, because I feel like most male coaches are like, "That's stupid, just squat."
Yeah, no, I'm not a negative person. I can see pretty much value in everyone out there. So it was cool, because I kind of knew you through Lane, met you a couple times. So I'm really excited for this weekend because we're going to get into some training.
Yeah.
But for today's video, I just thought I overheard a conversation you were having today with some of your coaches. Maybe it was Lauren. But you were just talking about, I can go ahead and tell you the questions you're going to ask me. You know the most common questions. So let's talk about the 3 most common mistakes people make when it comes to trying to grow their glutes.
Okay. So the first, probably the biggest mistake is with training frequency. For a lot of the women learn from like their boyfriends or like a male, a brother or something, and they teach them the body part splits.
Sure.
So that you got your chest day, your back day, your leg day, your arm day, your shoulder day, and so the women will do this, and they're training legs 1 day a week. So even
and they're
if
doing the glutes on the leg day.
They're doing glutes on leg day, and it'll be like squats and your Romanian deadlifts or whatever, maybe some leg press or lunges and some leg curls, and then throw in like one glute dominant, maybe like a hip thrust or something with like cable kickbacks or some sort of thing. And that doesn't work. That's all of my clients, when they start training glutes more frequently, they start seeing good results. So I have girls,
that's a very common misconception in bodybuilding from you and I reading magazines, right? The body part split.
1 day a week.
And when I started training higher frequency, I immediately noticed progress.
I did too.
So yeah, that would make sense that it would have.
But it's funny, there was a survey published in JSCR, and like, God, I think they surveyed like 127 bodybuilders, I can't remember the exact statistics, but the majority of them still just hit every muscle 1 day a week.
Yeah, well, I would say that if you're enhanced, taking some steroids and stuff like that, it probably changes the need.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they tend to just do so much damage in a single session, plus they've got the hormonal support, whereas I feel like the natural bodybuilding community has picked up on the higher frequency undulating periodization models and benefited.
I agree. And now the newer research, all the stuff that Brad Schoenfeld and James Krieger put out, it's like definite, clear benefit from training a muscle twice a week compared to once a week. Then after twice a week,
that's when you get into that intermediate advanced, then you got to do some auto regulation and stuff.
Here's what I say about that. So I agree if you're doing like heavy squats, deadlifts, lunges, these work the glutes in a stretched position. They create a lot of damage and they're systemically taxing.
Yeah. So
those you can't train. Like your workout today was pretty brutal. You can't do that 3 times a week.
No, so I do an undulating pattern. So I do really intense, like try to get up to some 5 to 8 reps for a couple hard sets for each lift. And then the next time I train, I'll do everything in the 20 to 30 rep range for lower body because I find that's just, for me, that's just very successful. And so I've had a lot of success with that. So yeah, I wouldn't do that twice a week.
No.
For joints, it would be bad. For CNS, it would be bad.
But a lot of the stuff you saw that I gave Lauren today, a lot of the hip thrust, the high rep stuff, the dumbbell stuff, the banded stuff, all the lateral band work, that doesn't beat you up much, and you don't really go to failure with those things.
Well, the movements you do for glutes are so isolated. Like you're actually just engaging the glutes. You're not getting hamstrings and the big movers of the quads involved. I mean, maybe to a small degree, but not nearly like.
But they're not systemically as taxing.
Right.
And you don't really go to failure.
You're not loading the spine.
You're not loading the spine, and when you do lateral band walks, you're not really going to failure.
Right.
You go to a Burns, and it's uncomfortable.
You go to lactic burn acid fail.
So I feel like when it's like metabolic stress work, you can do it more frequently, and it doesn't kick the crap out of you, and it doesn't backfire on you. So I feel like not all volume is created equal.
Absolutely.
So that's the first thing I must say.
So you'll say is
training frequency, train the glutes.
Train frequency too little is the most common.
So
what about sometimes I'll get a client inquiry and they'll have shoulders and glutes, back and glutes, quads and glutes, calves and glutes. Like they're literally training glutes every time they go into the gym. I mean, is this something you see as well?
Yep, and I used to recommend that. It's funny, I interviewed this Natalia Mela, who was a former
familiar with her.
Bikini Olympia winner.
Was she the first one or second?
I don't know. I think she was the second.
One of the very early
She was the first one I knew about, and she's from Brazil. Mm-hmm. She's my friend. We did an interview together, and she's like, in Brazil we train glutes every day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like that. They prioritize glutes
there.
Yeah. So I started doing that, but I think I went over. I don't think you need to train them. Well, first of all, I don't think you should strength train. Because I'm writing programs for people right now.
Sure.
And a lot of them are requesting some 7 days, they want to lift 7 days a week.
Yeah.
And tons of 6 days, 5 days. I think you see the best results training 4 or 5 days a week.
It's a point of diminishing returns.
There is, it depends. But you have to have at least 1 day off a week. Like you can't train 365 days out of a year.
I mean, as a coach who coaches a lot of competitors, I run into the same thing where, you want to do more to look better. And sometimes taking a day off, reducing inflammation, recovering, just the benefits.
Mentally, joint health, all the little things need to repair. You're not going to be psyched up when you train every day.
It's tough because, you think doing more is always better.
No, but there's several studies on this, but the most recent one was that German volume training study where they did, one group did 10 sets of 10, the other 5 sets of 10, and the 5 sets of 10 saw better results. Yeah. I mean, there's a sweet spot.
They're probably doing so much muscle damage in that short
so you've got
you're not recovering.
You've got like the sedentary world that does way too little exercise. They need to work out more. But then you've got people like us who love fitness and love weight training.
We're always trying to push the envelope.
Yeah, we push the envelope, and a lot of us, and a lot of women do this because a lot of men with lifting, we just stick to lifting.
Yep.
We aren't also trying to throw in. But a lot of women are, you ask them what else they're doing, and they like maybe they like doing a couple of high intensity interval training sessions per week. They like doing cardio 3 or 4 days a week. Low intensity cardio, and then they like doing a yoga session or two, and and they're mixing in a lot of different exercises. So it's harder. And athletes might do that, but they eat a ton.
For sure.
And anyway, so that's the first mistake with the frequency.
Frequency.
The second mistake I would say is not doing the right combinations of exercise. So I like to categorize glute exercises roughly in 3 different categories. You've got your vertical exercises that are axial loaded. The weight comes from above. You're standing,
Yep.
and those are the ones that are the most systemically taxing. Think of them: squats, deadlifts, lunges, good mornings.
Yep.
You know, Olympic lifts,
Hack squat.
all these
Yep.
where it's like coming down. It's the hardest at the bottom, and then
Yep.
once you get to the top, it's easy.
Yep.
So those train the glutes in a stretch position. You have to lower the eccentric pretty slowly to reverse the weight.
Yep.
And so you create muscle damage through the eccentric and the long length stretch. So those lead to the most damage, but also they create a lot of spinal loading because you have a moment arm is created between the spine and the line of a system center of mass.
Sure.
And so there's torque on the spine.
So
and
depending
you
on
have
the
to have,
leverages, it can be.
yeah, you sit back and then, you have to, so you when you have a lever arm there, the erectors have to contract.
Yep.
And then when the erectors contract, it creates compressive force. And then if your torso is lean, you're going to have shear force. So these create a lot of spinal loading.
Yeah.
And they just tend to beat you up a lot. Like
Yep.
you don't wake up a day after doing lateral band walks and feel you got hit by a train,
Right.
but you do when you do a really hard squat session, especially
Yeah.
a really hard deadlift session.
Anyone who's got into powerlifting or,
Well, it just works a lot of muscles
Yeah.
and it beats you up
Yep.
because a lot of muscles are sore from it. And,
Yeah.
and when your spine is sore, it's like you can't give it your all on other exercises,
Sure.
So anyway, but axial exercises are good. They were the most popular exercise before I came around. It was all about you want nice glutes, do squats, do
Yeah.
lunges, do deadlifts or like Romanians or something, some type of deadlift.
Sure.
And these were the most popular exercises for good reason. They work your glutes pretty well. Like
Yep.
you've got nice glutes from mostly those alone.
Unfortunately for what I do, my glutes are I think the primary dominant muscle group in
Right.
my lower body. But
And a lot of bodybuilders just do those and get nice glutes.
sure.
But I have found, especially with some women, see so much. Like a lot of the women have been doing that for years, and then they
Right.
stumble upon my work, and then they start adding in horizontal glute exercise, which I'll describe in a minute, and then lateral glute exercises. So I think you should have 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Vertical,
I like that.
horizontal, lateral. The horizontal, and then when they start doing that, their results are catapulted to the next level. They'll say, "Oh my!" That's where I get
Is it almost the same philosophy as like for us, training the chest from a bunch of angles? A flat, an incline,
Kind
fly
of,
type of movement?
kind of, but there are 2 main subdivisions for the gluteus maximus. And in my seminars, I have pictures of Ronnie Coleman. I have like Phil Heath, Kai
Yep.
Green. I have all these, and then some female bodybuilders as well. When they're lean, you can see these. It's upper and lower subdivision, clear
Yep.
distinction
Yeah,
between the
striated
two.
glutes, yeah.
And you can see these would do different things. Just like in the pecs, you could see like this is probably the clavicular head is going to work
Like on
more
Franco
on.
Colombo, you can see
Yeah,
the
right,
pec,
right,
popping
right,
off his
popping
chest.
out, yeah. So there are 2 subdivisions. So if you want to work the whole glute, you do horizontal. They work
Okay.
the upper and the lower. If you want to work more of the lower than the upper, you do vertical, like lunges. But if you want to completely isolate the upper subdivision, the upper glute maximum, you do lateral, up frontal plane, lateral stuff.
Okay.
Like sideline, hip
That's what you were
abduction.
doing with Lauren at the end of the workout, yeah.
And that totally works the upper glutes. And I've noticed with a lot of my competitors, you see them on stage and they have that upper shelf
Yeah.
that's developed.
Yeah.
And you can tell they've been doing
Yeah.
lateral and horizontal exercises, not
Yeah.
just vertical.
Awesome.
But the horizontal exercises are things where you're supine, prone, quadruped. So things like hip thrusts, glute bridges, kick back, like prone, reverse hypers, back extensions,
Yeah.
kickbacks, all these things. Those work from a front to back. You don't go as deep, you don't get as big of a stretch, but you come up and the hardest part is at the top where the glutes are at a short
Right,
position.
like today there was, I think Chad might have got some on film, maybe you can put it in here where, I was doing the hip thrust and you're like, bring it up all the way. Like
Yeah,
lock
come
it.
up as high as you
Yeah.
can. One, hold it, one, come up higher. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah.
That's actually where, see, the gluteus maximus is a weird muscle. If you look at your biceps, if you try to come all the way here and flex it in the shortened position, you can't flex it very hard.
Right.
It gets its peak contraction in mid-range.
Okay, yeah.
Same thing with quadriceps, same thing with hamstrings. But for some of the glutes, get their peak contraction in the most shortened position possible.
Okay.
So it makes sense you'd want to train it in that position where it gets its maximum activation. So you should add in horizontal exercises as well, like hip thrust. And there's so many variations. What I've found in my seminars, I always poll everyone. And it's like across the board, half the people like an exercise and half don't. It's
Sure.
like you ask people, do you feel squats in your glutes? Half the people yes, half the people not at all. I feel it only in my quads. Deadlifts, half the people feel them in their glutes, half don't. It's like that's why variety is a good thing. You want to have a lot of tools in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And so I always tell people like find the top 10 glute exercises that work best for you. It's gonna be different.
Experiment.
Yeah, experiment
Sure you feel it.
and stick mostly with those. And not only with the exercise, but the loads too. Like a lot of people don't like heavy hip thrusts, but they feel lighter hip thrusts. Lauren's one of them. She feels lighter hip thrusts a ton, so use that.
Yeah.
So those are the horizontal exercises. And then the lateral are your standing cable hip abduction, your side lying. It's standing side lying or like banded mini bands around the knees.
Yeah.
Where you're moving side to side, or even the seated hip abduction.
So it's going to be a
machine.
little bit lower
You're going-
resistance, right?
It's always lower because you never do like sets of 3. You're always doing sets of 20, 30. But that, like I said before, targets the upper glutes. Now, when you're in frontal plane, straight up, leg to the side, that's all upper glute. It's glute medius and the upper subdivision of glute max. But when you bend forward, it brings the lower glutes a little bit more into play. But it still won't work the lower glutes like other exercise will. But it's like just metabolic stress and kind of like penalty-free volume because no one gets beat up from that. It's not like the next day you're like, oh.
And there's definitely value sometimes in feeling the burn in the area you're targeting. You know, like sometimes people complain they don't have a good workout because they didn't feel a pump or a burn.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think more immediate advanced athletes like ourselves, we don't always focus on that.
No.
But it's a good tool when
Right.
you're getting someone involved.
And it's funny you bring that up because psychologically you want them to. I always get annoyed at these strict trainers that are like, you know, the client's like, I want to do some curls, and they're like, well, we're a functional facility here. We don't do curls. And it's like, the person's training for their physique.
Right.
You don't care about function. You want nice biceps. Add in the freaking curl, and they're going to have more buy-in to their program. They're going to like it.
Yep.
And same with glutes. These clients want to feel their glutes. If they don't, like me, let's say we're doing like an upper body, say you do an upper lower split, and you have an upper body day and you do bench press, rows, chin-ups, and military press. You might never, during military press, I'm not like, I want my delts to fatigue.
Right.
You're just trying to get a good workout, move the weight. But then when you do the lateral raise, you want to feel it in your delts and stuff.
Absolutely.
But like, with the glutes, it's the same thing. You want to have some movements where you're trying to move a lot of weight and others where you're trying to feel the glutes.
Sure.
And then the third tip is just doing too much exercise in general and not eating enough. Or like this is where a lot of women, there's all these fads you hear about and these, fasts and detox things and starve yourself and do tons of cardio. And so let's say you go and have a kick butt, really good workout in the gym, but then you follow it up and do 2 cardio sessions and barely eat, then your glutes will not grow.
Yeah.
You gotta be, you gotta have a healthy body fat level, and you gotta be, you gotta provide your your glutes with sustenance for them to grow.
Yeah, I think so. What I think you and I can relate to this is once you've kind of had some success. So I've had some success with clients getting in better shape, getting on stage, and they've allowed me to let me build them for a year. Let's not compete for a year. Then you can get buy-in because girls can attach, not just girls, but females are much more dominant at attaching like a feeling to their weight on the scale or how a clothing fits. So it takes a while to get them out of that comfort zone. But I'm sure with all the success you've had with your transformations, if you tell a girl like you need to eat a little bit more if you want the butt that you're after, now they're like, okay, that's what Bret says.
But not right off the bat. Because it's funny because you've worked mostly with like competitors online around the world, and I do a lot of programs and stuff, but I haven't done nearly as much online training as you have.
Okay.
But I've done a lot of personal training, And they aren't. So these people just are local people.
They're not obsessed with the stage physique.
And they don't, and they're not obsessed with me. They're not like, oh my God, he's the glute guy, he's Bret Contreras. They're just like, so I always say once you get them to the compliment phase, you know, when they start getting compliments from coworkers and friends and spouses and stuff, then they're way more apt to
Something similar happens to me when I'm working with someone that's been the same in the gym for like a couple of years, and then they start working with me, and 6 weeks later, like everyone in the gym's like, what are you doing different?
Yeah.
So that, I call that like a third-party verification. Like, like you didn't ask for it. Someone you don't really know is
right. It's a big deal. It's
if it's ever happened to you or me, you remember it.
Yeah, we look in the mirror every day. It's too slow to see changes, but other people see it. And then your life is easier because now they'll believe you and do what you say. And that's always the best scenario.
And then hopefully they're telling the person that's coming through the door next, like, oh, you should go see Bret.
Yeah.
If you like this.
But it's always ideal what you said when they go, all right, I'm only going to compete. I'm not going to compete for a full year.
Yeah, that's hard.
It's hard.
It's hard. But
well, because it's really hard when they're doing 5-6 shows a year, and
that's impossible.
Yeah.
You're not growing. You're maintaining at best.
Right.
Losing a little bit at worst. But you know, taking that time off in between is what makes the difference. So, well, thanks, Bret. What I'm really excited for is we're having a meetup tomorrow. So if you get to see this video, we're in San Diego. It's 7 to 9 p.m. tomorrow. What's the address again?
13, Glute Lab, 1349 Garnett Avenue.
Yeah, so 7 to 9, free seminar. We're just going to do some Q&A stuff. We're not going to do any working out or exercising, but we are going to answer questions. Me, you, Lauren Conlon, Sohee Lee. I even heard Dr. Corey Probst is coming, so it'll be a fun event. So, and we're going to get a bunch of footage tomorrow. We're going to train, tour San Diego, and I appreciate you hosting us, man. We're excited.
Yes, thank you.
All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.
By myself.